All right, continuing on with the lists here, we are going to be entering our terms list, okay? So here, I explained before, right? What is terms? Terms are what a vendor or customer, right? You either receive or offer terms, which is going to be basically when something is due, right? You give them a time frame. That's called a standard term, and then you have date driven terms, okay? So for instance, right? So for if I say my term is net 30, that means upon receiving the bill, you have 30 days to make a payment. Okay? So it's a time frame of when something is due, right? A due date. However, if you decide to give a discount term, let's say I can offer you a 2% discount if you pay within 15 days, if not net 30, right? And that's going to be an example of a discount term, which we will get to see in chapter 4, okay? And chapter 5. What does that mean? So in this case, right, you're given 2 dates and then you're given a percentage, right? Normally when we take a look at, so the discount opportunity is if you pay within the first 15 days, you will receive a discount. If not, the entire bill is due in full within 30 days. So what these terms do is it allows vendors and customers, right, especially for vendors, right? The main key point is giving a discount term is ultimately going to result in you getting the opportunity of getting your money quicker, okay? So again, we give incentives to say, hey, if you pay me faster, I will give you a discount. Excuse me. So in this case, right, this is ultimately one of the goals that because in order for you to continue doing your business of operations, you need to have money. And if you don't, and if you sell products and services to your customer, excuse me, and they are not meeting, and they're not paying you right away, then you need to resort to giving those incentives so then you can get your money quicker so you're able to go ahead and continue your operations. Oh, excuse me. So in this case, right? In this case, we're looking at regular terms. Now, what is a date-driven term? So an example of a date-driven term is going to be something like something like a bill from a rent. It's usually due on the same day of every month, right? That is a date-driven term, meaning you have to pay within on a specific date. We call that date-driven terms. Okay? Yes. Question? Okay. So in this case, for example, right here, due on the first of the month. So most credit card companies, right? They always expect you to pay on a specific date every single month. That's a date-driven term. Okay? So let's go ahead and enter in these terms right here that are listed here. Some of them you may have to inactivate. Some of them you actually have to create. Okay? So let's take it the first one. We're going to be creating a date-driven term here where we are going to have something due on the first of the month. So here we have already preset or pre-made terms that are already on the company file, right? Now in this case, I want to add in another one. So again, how do I add a new item? Right here, top right, in the green, new. Okay? And when I click on it, I should get a little window that says, what do I want to call this? In this case, I can say due on 1st of month. Okay? So in this case, now it's saying, is this a standard fixed term, or is it a date-driven term? In this case, it's due by a certain date of the month. So in this case, the day of the month is going to be the first day, okay, of the month. And then, of course, the next month of issuing it within 30 days, okay? So again, usually bills are due every 30 days, right? On that same exact day. And I'm going to go ahead and click save. So that means if I use this date-driven term, that means it will calculate on me on my sales form that it's going to be due on the 1st of every single month. Okay? Other ones that you have here is due on receipt date. Okay? So that means upon receiving the receipt, means you're going to have, it's due. It's due on the day that you receive the receipt. Okay? Other ones that we want to keep here is net 30. Okay? We want to inactivate net 15 and net 60. Okay? Depending on your business, though, if net 15 is something that you do, for instance, like, let's say you have a customer on account and you just want them to pay quicker. You can shorten the days amount that they can owe you for. Okay? So in this case, we can inactivate this. How do I inactivate? Go over here to the right side, more options, make inactive. It's going to give you an error message saying, are you sure you want to inactivate this? You want to click yes. Okay. Next we have here, we want to get rid of 60 days. So again, again, depending on your company policy, right? You can choose how long you want a bill to be extended for. So in this case, we want to not have it for 2 months. We really need it to be just the 30. Okay. All right. And of course, we'll go ahead and keep adding more to this list as we go through the rest of the scenario. But my list looks good. I added in the 1st of the month. I have due on the receipt. And I have net 30, which are my very common types of terms that I would typically have for a business. But again, we will explore the option of if you do discounts. Now remember, these terms cannot calculate the discount for you. So if you are going to offer your customers terms, you have to be aware of who receives that term and when they receive that term. So again, in this case, this QuickBooks does not have the capability to calculate discounts for those terms. Okay. All right. So then I'm done with that. All right. So let's see what other lists I'm going to be doing next. Okay. Custom fields. What are custom fields? Okay. Custom fields are what extra information. Oh, I'm on the wrong one. Custom fields. Okay. Okay. Custom fields here is going to be determined like any other extra information that you want to appear on a form. So for instance, I want to have a sales rep, okay? Because not every company is going to be needing these types of fields. So that's why I'm going to be adding an additional field for my sales rep and also for a purchase order number, okay? So again, when you're looking at your QuickBooks forms, they are usually set standard with the typical, you got the terms, you got the date, you got the name, but this is extra information that you want to appear on it that is more pertinent to your company. So in this case, I want to have a sales representative on there and I want to have a purchase order number on there, okay? So, and you want to make sure that it's on all sales forms and you want to make sure it's printed on the forms as well, okay? So let's go ahead and take a look at this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to my gear icon, go to all lists, and this one is going to be for custom fields. Okay? So again, these are things that you are adding extra information that doesn't already exist in a preset form. Okay? So I'm going to go ahead and add a custom field. Now we will turn on our custom fields when we actually hit the sales section of, so that's chapter 3. We'll take a look at that little small section first, the section for the sales settings in the account settings, and we will set to have custom fields on there. Okay. So the name of this custom field would be sales rep. Okay. And then you want it to have on all of the sales forms, and you want it to be printed on the form as well. Do you want them to be on purchase order forms? Well, in this case, not for sales representative. You wouldn't necessarily have that because they're only geared towards sales. So no, they don't have to be on the purchase orders. Now, if you want to, for instance, this person is specifically already ordering and you want to have that sales representative be responsible for those purchase orders, go ahead and say that, yes, you could put them on the purchase order forms as well. Okay. But in this case, it's unnecessary. You don't need to have it unless you want it. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and click save. Okay. So there's my first custom field. All right. So let's see. I need to add one more for my purchase order number. Okay. Purchase order number. Okay. Yes, I want it to be on all my sales and print on them. And of course, because purchase order stands for, or PO stands for purchase order. So of course, you definitely want to have that on your purchase order forms as well. Okay. And there you go. Now, as I keep adding, like I mentioned, right, be aware of this because these are things that are going to populate on your sales form, which we'll take a look in chapter 3. Okay. So that was that list there. Let's see, what else do I need to set up? So class and location. So again, for Imagine Photography, in your book, they refer the locations as classes. But in this case, because that doesn't really make any sense, if you have the ability to use locations for the store locations, then you don't need to use classes for store locations, right? Now, in previous sections, usually classes was the only thing that you were able to identify the difference between the stores and so on and so forth. But in this case, I have adjusted this so your book is matching, that you're going to be utilizing these classes. You're going to have administrative, okay? You're going to have overhead, which applies to both stores, and you're going to actually have the store location, okay? Store, meaning every time I purchase something, I can code it to the store. Okay? And let's go ahead and do that. So, classes. So again, class tracking is a very powerful tool, okay? Because once again, since it's a way for you to also further separate and sort out your income and expenses based on line of business, department, whatever that you want to call, you can utilize the class for. So what that does is it gives you the ability to determine, right, the way that you use classes depending on how you use it. So in this case, I'm doing administrative cost versus the store cost versus overhead cost. Okay? Meaning if I were to use it like that, what I can do with that information is I can see how much money I am spending on certain aspects of a business. So in this case, did I spend too much money on administrative costs? Okay? And because I'm also keeping track of income as well, is it income from the store or is it income from the administrative? Okay, so that's what you're going to do, and then you get to build your reports based on the information that you gave. So especially for class tracking, you can even run a report on profit and loss for class tracking, so you can see which department or which area of a business is being spent too much money on or profitable, right? So in this case, I'm going to go to classes. Same thing, there's nothing in here, but how do I add a new one? You click this right click right here on that new green, the green right there. And the name of this one's going to be administrative. Administrative. Okay. Administrative. So whether it's income or expenses. And it says, is this a subclass? No, it's not. Okay. Now I'm going to add the other two, right? Because we need one for the store. And we're going to need one for overhead, which applies to both of the businesses, whether it's both the locations or it affects the business overall. Okay, so we call that overhead. Okay, so there are my three classes. And that means every single transaction that you see, whether it's recording a bill or recording a sales receipt, it's going to have a column on there that's going to allow you to categorize it and separate this transaction based on the class. Okay. So next one we have here is going to be location. So again, the book mentions that there are two store locations that are currently in operations, right? You have one in San Jose location and you have one in Walnut Creek location. You also want to have one for overhead because if a expense or income is deriving that affects both of the businesses, doesn't matter whether it's the San Jose location or the Walnut Creek location, you need to have an account for that, right? Or you need to have a location for that affects both of the business. So for instance, if I'm buying a truck, right, is that for my store, if that for my San Jose location, or is that for my Walnut Creek? Well, if you're going to be splitting between the two, then that's going to be something that is shared between both the San Jose location and the Walnut Creek. So therefore, overhead. Okay. Now, if you want to, yes, you can go ahead and buy a truck for the San Jose location and also buy a separate truck for the Walnut Creek location. But in this case, we will take a look at looking at examples where we're going to be splitting the fixed asset between the two. So it only makes sense to just code it to both locations. And we call that, again, overhead. So once again, I'm going to go to my lists, and it should be location, should be here. Okay. So once again, how do I add a new location? Top right. And this time, it's saying here, what do I want to name this? We're going to call this location San Jose, right? We have a store in San Jose, and we have one in Walnut Creek. Okay, is this a sub location? No. Is this location has a different title for the sales forms? In this case, you want to chat. We're gonna ignore most of these questions here because you don't want to have to add in a second address in here because it's kind of, you have to understand this, right? If you have two store locations, of course you're going to have two different addresses. But in this case, we're just going to leave this alone and code both of these locations as the same location. Okay? And again, that's all I need to do. Okay? And I'm going to click save. So there you go. There's my first one, San Jose location. I also need one for Walnut Creek, for my Walnut Creek store. And I also need one for both of the stores, which we call overhead. Okay, so we will be utilizing this especially to keep track of our income and expenses by location. So yes, on your sales form, because now you have locations, it will appear at the very top of your sales form, and it's going to allow you to select where this income or expense is for what location. Okay. So then let's see, let's go ahead and do some tags. So we talked about tags very briefly. What do tags do? Okay. Tags allow you to search your transactions much more easily. It's like putting a code on your transaction, right? So for every bill or for every sale that you do, you can put a tag on it that allows you to be able to search it up much quickly. So for instance, right, I will have a customer who will be doing wedding photo shoots. So if I'm able to go ahead and to identify which wedding that we did, I can just type in wedding and it will pull up all the information that I tagged as wedding. So again, this is just another way to again tag your transactions, okay? And categorize them based on different topics. So in this case, to help you locate it much more easier. It also allows you to organize your transactions, especially when you're looking at customer invoices, right? You can separate them and say that they are from the wedding department. This one's from the corporation department, right? That will help you further organize your ideas. But in this case, it is just to help you identify what happened in that transaction, right? You're not going to use your tags to do any reporting, okay? So in this case, let's go ahead and enter them in. We got weddings, we got portraits, we got real estate, corporations, and retail. Okay. So let's go ahead and add in our tags. So once again, you're going to go up to your gear icon. You're going to go up to all lists, and you're going to click on tags. So again, we're trying to fill out as many lists as possible, so then when we do enter in all of our transactions, everything is going to be so much easier to fill out. Okay. Okay, for some reason I can't access my tags. Okay. It might be a setting that I have to do, but that's weird because I already set up my tags. So in this case, not quite sure why I can't do it. Maybe it could be a glitch in the system. So in this case, since I can't do it now, I'm going to try to do it later. So you can do that for homework. It's the same thing, right? You're just going to be going up to the right corner, new, and then clicking and then adding a new tag. So again, you need to do weddings, retail, corporations, portraits, and all of that, okay? For some reason, again, it might be a glitch on my end. Okay? Now we're going to start setting up our sales tax. So an important thing about QuickBooks is you need to identify whether or not your products and services are going to be taxed or not. Now, in most cases, right, I've mentioned this also earlier in the beginning of class, your sales tax is going to be dependent on which state that charges sales tax, right? So I believe there's like 5 states that do not charge sales tax, okay? So in this case, you need to make sure which state that you're doing business in. So, but since there's only like, what, 50 states, and only 5 of them, that means pretty much 95% of the time, any state that you go to will typically have a sales tax, okay? So in this case, how am I to set up my sales tax? You always have to set up your sales tax first, because if you're going to be contacting a customer and selling something to them, you need to set this up ahead of time, because you need to know how you're going to collect the money and how you're going to charge them appropriate based on the appropriate city and county, right? Because sales tax is actually broken down into a state and local county rates, okay? It's not just a simple, oh, my state charges 8.25%. No, if you actually really further breaking it down, it really depends on the county that you are also in. So for instance, right, LA County and Orange County, two completely different sales tax rates. Why is that? They're both from the state of California. Well, that's because LA County charges a higher percentage. Orange County does a lower percentage, right? Same thing if you were to go up to San Francisco. San Francisco and San Jose will be completely two different sales tax, right? Why is that? They're from the same state. That's what I'm trying to say, because the county can also implement their own sales tax rate, because ultimately what the sales tax does is it's to charge customers, so then that way when this money is being collected from you, because you're collecting from the customer and then forwarding that money to those governments, what that is basically a way to contribute back to society, right? So in this case, we need to go ahead and take a look at how to set these up. Now, let's go ahead and do this. So first, we're not going to be doing the gear icon, okay? This time, we're going to go to the left navigation bar, okay? And we're going to go to taxes, okay? Now, in this case, it should give you another step by step what you need to do to set up your sales tax. And in this case, let's go ahead and follow it through. So, step 1, right? You either do the automation, or you can actually manually set it up yourself. In this case, the ability and capability of utilizing the internet and having the ability to look up stuff on maps will save you a bunch of time. So in this case, because I've already put my address in, right? We set that it was 123 Main Street, okay? Pleasanton, California, 94566. We put in our address right there. So that's going to make it that much easier, because we put in a legitimate address. So that means it's going to look up the exact department you need to make a payment to for those sales tax. And in this case, right, it is California. So I'm going to go ahead and click next. All right. And then, of course, tell us more about your taxes. Okay. So in this question is, do you need to collect sales tax outside of California? In this case, our business is just going to be within San Jose location and Santa Clara location, okay, which is the Walnut Creek location. So in this case, no, I'm going to be strictly only allowing sales to be done only in the state of California. So therefore, no, I'm not going to be charging any customers outside of California, okay? And then it says right here, looks like your tax agency is the California Department of Tax and Fees Administration. Okay, cool. So I'm going to go ahead and click next. Okay, so once you have that, you should have this little check mark saying, yes, you have successfully set up your sales tax. And it says now I need to create an invoice, but that's okay. We'll look at that invoice in chapter 2. So once I exit out of that, now it's going to tell me how often am I going to make payments to my local state and governments, right, for the sales tax. So in this case, this is going to be dependent on your company, okay, especially what kind of company you are, okay? If you're a corporation, you're most likely to be having sales on the daily, right? So you're going to be collecting all that sales tax money. So you're going to most likely make payments much more often. So in this case, the shortest one you have here is monthly. Now, for a small business who's trying to pick up their sales, right? Maybe it's or a startup company, maybe their sales isn't going to hit as quick, right? So they might be able to get away with quarterly payments or even yearly payments, okay? So in this case, the best rule of thumb is you definitely want to not rack up your liabilities, because in this case, that money's not yours. That is money that you're collecting on behalf of the customer, and you're going to send that money to the government because that is the responsibility for you doing business in that state. That's your agreement to be legal enough to sell your product and services in the state of and that county, right? You have permission to do that, but that permission comes with the consequence of you have to collect all this sales tax money for me, and that money is going to come directly to us. And usually, you know, they always say the state tax money usually goes back into, you know, fixing the roads and so on and so forth, right? But that is your responsibility as a business if you're going to be doing it in the state. Now, if you are an online business that does not have an actual location, you still have to go ahead and put in the taxes on who you're selling to, okay? If you're selling to someone who lives outside of the state, you're going to be taxing them at the sales tax rate that they are purchasing it from, okay? So for instance, if again, this company is in the state of California, and let's say I purchase in the state of Nevada, I'm going to be charged Nevada tax, not California tax. That's why you have that question there. Are you going to be collecting sales tax outside of California? Reason being is because if you are, it's going to be based on where the person is purchasing from, not where they're buying it from, okay? So in this case, like the example I just already said. So this is I'm going to make monthly payments, okay? And we'll talk about how to make a payment to your sales tax agency in chapter 4, or chapter 4, yes. Okay. So there you go ahead and click save. So what's going to happen is it's going to populate the California department, and this is where you're going to make your payments too. So if you scroll all the way down, this is a record of how many payments you have made. So again, we'll take a look at this in chapter 4 on how to make a payment to the state of California. Okay. Now that doesn't stop here because I only set up who I pay. I haven't set up what I charge. So in this case, I need to now set up when I charge my customers, what tax rates are they going to be charged at? We only set up who we're paying. So in this case, you're going to go all the way up to the top right here, sales tax settings. Okay. So now that I click on the sales tax settings, it's going to ask me to create custom rates. Okay. So once again, this one's a little different. It's not in green, but it is top right corner saying you can add new. Okay. So in this case, right, it's going to ask me, is this a single tax rate or is it a combined tax rate? Now again, if you, so this is the reason why, if you pay your state and county agencies, if they pay at the same agency, so if I, for instance, California, let's say California, they also collect the tax for San Jose, then you can use a single line entry for the rate. Now, for any reasons that you have to pay the California, and your county in two separate agencies, you're going to be needing to use the combined one, okay? Because in this case, right, we need to identify that the tax rate consists of a state tax rate and the county tax rate, right? So in this case, first one, name is going to be, we're going to first set up San Jose first, San Jose, California. And the sales tax rate is going to be 6.25% for California department. And then you have 3.5%, giving you a total of 9.75%. So again, that is how a tax is created, right? A portion of it goes to the state, a portion of it goes to the local city agency, okay? Or the county in this case, right? So I'm going to go ahead and put those numbers in. So 6.25 for the California tax. So that's the first thing I'm going to put here is we're going to call this San Jose, California. And then you could do like CA like that. Okay, San Jose, California. Okay, so that means the first tax rate, right? The nickname is going to be California State Tax Rate. Okay, and what is the agency? Again, if you're paying two different departments, that is the reason why you're going to be using a combination. But if you're paying the state and county in the same department, you can save yourself by just doing a single one. But in this case, I'm going to show you the example of why it's most likely going to be a combined one, because usually the state and the cities, because depending how big the state is, those cities might not be paying the same exact places. Okay? So in this case, I'm going to go ahead and just put California department, and the sales tax rate is 6.25%. Okay? And then my second rate is going to be, you could put county tax, or you could actually put San Jose County tax. Okay. Agency, so again, you normally would do this for a secondary one, but in this case, we only had entered one. So I'm just going to go ahead and utilize that same one. And it's going to be for 3.5%. So therefore, down below at the bottom should say you're going to be charging 9.75%. Okay? Now it says right here, add another tax rate. Why do you need to add another tax rate? So oftentimes, or not oftentimes, very special cities will require also a local tax. Okay? So what is a local tax, or an example of a local tax, right? For example, San Francisco. That local tax is going to pay for having the public transportation system of that train, that trolley that goes up and down San Francisco, right? So that is something that the people who live in San Francisco have to pay into. So not only they pay the state, they have to pay the city, they also have to pay that local tax as well. Okay, that's an example. Okay, so in this case, there is none, so I'm going to go ahead and click save. So there's my first tax rate here. Okay, and then let's go ahead and create our second one. Okay, okay, so this one's going to be another combined for the state of, for the Santa Clara County, which is Walnut Creek location. So I'm going to call this Santa Clara because that's the county, Santa Clara, California. Okay. So once again, you're going to be at, if you already put in the code for the first one, it should automatically populate for you. But in this case, yep, California state tax. There you go. It already told you that it's 6.25%. However, rate number 2 is going to be Santa Clara County tax. Okay. This one, okay, same agency because we're not going to add another one. This time, this rate is going to be 4%. Okay? Which will give you 10.25%. Okay? So again, this is a common one that you see here. San Jose charges a smaller tax than Santa Clara County. Okay? Let's do another example where it's going to be more applicable to us because we live in the state of Nevada. So in this case, right, let's do an example, right? We can call this Las Vegas tax, right? Las Vegas, Nevada. Okay? Now in this case, we're going to have Nevada tax, of course. So NV, state tax, and tax rate. And currently, that agency is going to be, it should be the state of Nevada. So you can actually type it in Nevada, Nevada Department, right? Boom. Okay? And our tax rate for the state of Nevada is actually 4.6%. Okay? Now, in this case, Las Vegas is part of Clark County. Okay? Clark County tax. So right now, currently, if you live in anywhere around, okay, the Strip has an additional tax rate for hospitality. So that will be something, an example right there where you can say if you're doing Las Vegas City Boulevard or the Strip, for instance, yes, that tax rate's going to be a little higher. But for anybody that lives outside of the Strip, will be taxed at the Santa Clara tax, which once again, you can just put in Nevada here. And our tax rate right now for Clark County is 3.775. So 3.775, okay? So therefore, right now, we are currently charged 8.375%, okay? And yes, that is the current sales tax rate. But again, we got December's going to roll over, so that means there could be a new tax rate increase for 2023. Okay? So in this case, that's what you can do. And again, if you're going to be looking at Las Vegas Boulevard as in the Strip, you do need to add that other extra special tax because there's a hospitality tax in there too. Okay? That's why everything on the Strip is a lot more expensive because of that tax. Or if they choose not to tax you through that, they just raise the price as a premium on the products. Okay? All right, and I'm going to click save. All right, so that's an example of two of the sales tax rates that you're commonly going to have, right? We definitely need to set up the one for San Jose and set up the one for Santa Clara, but we gave another example so then you kind of are aware of, oh, my Nevada tax is this. Okay. All right, let's see. Okay. So, yep. So today we're going to do the last section, which is to complete custom forms, okay? So this is very important that you should set up prior to making a sale, okay? Because the one thing about a business is you want to set yourself apart. You want to make yourself unique in terms of if I'm going to be sending out and mailing out invoices, right? Oftentimes, a lot of people, right, they use the standard Intuit basic form, right? And when they receive the bill in the mail, oftentimes it's not unique. It doesn't pop out. It doesn't spell out that this is from this person, right? So, you know, as a common, or in this case, a common tendency, people are more attracted to things that pop out, right? So this is one of the things that you're going to be doing is a custom built sales form to make yourself unique and stand out from all the other companies, okay? So let's go ahead and build our very first custom form, okay? Now there are many ways that you can do it, right? You can either go through the account and settings option under the gear icon. And if I go to my sales section, oh, I hit the wrong one. Sales section, at the very top, you are able to create your custom forms right here, okay? Another way you can do that, if you are not going to look at that, you can go to your gear icon and you should actually have it under your company, and you should have your custom form styles right here, okay? And of course, if you go to your all list, you also have that there too. So this is just a standard thing that you should kind of look into, just because you don't want to send your customers a very generic invoice, right? You want to set yourself apart, because that is a marketing tactic that is, you know, whether it is true or not, if people are more attracted to things that pop out, it would just sell your business much more, okay? So that's why I'm going to show you this section here for custom form styles. So here I just went on the gear icon and went to your company, clicked on custom form styles, okay? So in this case, how do I create a new form? Straightforward. At the top, this time it's not in green, but you're still at the top right corner, and it says new style. Now there's a drop down menu, because you can create more than just one form, right? You can create one for invoices, estimates, and sales receipts. So you only have 3 options you can choose. Okay, so in this case, I'm going to go ahead and show you how to create an invoice. Okay, so here it is. This is the setup window on the right side here. Gives you your preview of what your invoice would look like. Okay, now in this case, we want to go ahead and enter in a invoice name. So right here it says it's my invoice. No, I do not want that. In this case, I want this to be a very standard one. So in this case, we can just call this Imagine Photography. Photography invoice, right? Very straightforward, because you're not going to have multiple different invoice styles unless you're appealing to specific customers, okay? So here gives you on the first section here, so you have 3 tabs at the top. First section is going to be looking at design, okay? So here, how can you design your invoice? So right now, it looks very boring, very generic. So how can I change or design this? Well, first one is, or you can change up the actual template, right? So in this case, they tell you they want you to use airy, okay? You can look at other ones such as modern. So you can look at a modern look, okay? Which is a preset form that they do. So it's like they combined different types of fonts together, and they also arrange the tables a little different. So you can do a different other one. You could do friendly, okay? So there's a different lots of ones, and this one will help you save time, because again, you would also customize it by adding things such as a logo and things like that, changing the color schemes. But in this case, they tell you to choose airy, okay? They want you to choose airy new, okay? And then the next thing that you could do is you can also make a logo, okay? So in this case, here's my logo. Yes, I want my logo. So show logo. Okay, so right now I have it right corner, right, really big. This one will definitely catch a lot of your customers' eyes, but in this case, I believe they tell you to have it size medium. Okay, so not so obnoxious. Okay, and they want it to be right aligned, I believe. Okay, so right there in that top corner. And then, of course, you could even dabble into color. So color speaks a lot, right? A lot of typical businesses will designate some kind of color to represent them. Now, here in the United States, the most typical colors that you see that grab people's attentions or, represents a quality business is typically blue, red, and white. Okay? So, if you think about any type of company, right, they're most likely going to use those standard colors, right? In this case, we're going to be using this turquoise color. I forgot which one it was, but the coding to it was, I believe it was this one. Okay? Or actually, it might be this one, the way far down here, right? You can double check the thing here. I put the actual coding for it. So it should be the color is the aqua, which is the the OE909A. So I think I chose the right one. Okay. So we're gonna do aqua. Okay. There you go. So that means what that does is basically it just changed the scheme of the tables and the formatting. Okay. Then of course you can also select a different font. Okay, of course, what kind of font you want to do. Right now it's at Helvetica. Right now I believe they ask you to utilize I think Arial Unicode. Okay. So we want Arial Unicode and right Arial Unicode at 10-point font. Okay, 10-point font is pretty standard. Normal ones, again, if you've they say 12-point font is usually a good size, but most businesses usually typically go with like a smaller font, 10. Okay. So, and then of course you can also say when in doubt, print it out, right? So this one is going to tell you try it, print it out. If you like it, then you can save it, right? If not, you can just trash it and start all over again. So again, they always want you to make sure that when you print it out, is this what is going to be representing your company? In this case, that's a pretty good form you got there. Okay? So that's the first one, designing your form here, right? You got the very basics of changing the font, changing the style, the format, and pretty much that's pretty much what you can do here, and that's the options that they give it to you available. Now the middle one here is going to be content. So what content do you want to have on the actual sales form? Okay. So in this case, you can add in addresses, you can add in anything. If you don't want your address to appear, you can delete that. So now it says select the area. So in this case, let's select this area here. Am I going to be needing the name of the business? Of course, Imagine Photography, but you wouldn't be needing this November 22 here, right? You would just have Imagine Photography, right? Incorporated if you are. Phone number, right? That might be something necessary. Email, right? Do you want to have the phone number on there? That's up to your discretion, right? Maybe they want to contact you to ask you questions on their bills. So that's definitely yes. So we want to check mark phone number, but we want to uncheck mark the address. We want to display. You want to check that too. Okay, so again, we're gonna check mark phone number, but we're gonna uncheck. Address, email address. We definitely want to have that checked on. In this case, display, account, check, show on invoice. So let's see. Form name, invoice. Okay. So display. Do you want to have, you want to make sure it's checked. Okay. Shipping, terms, due dates. Of course, you want to have a due date on there. Okay. Shipping if it's necessary. If you had to pay extra for that shipping, you definitely want to relay that on there. Okay. And then let's see, it says here for account summary, you want to check show on invoice. So again, you might have to click a different area. So here, I clicked on the table here. So again, it's going to show me the products and services. Okay. Amount, SKU number, right? And if I want to go down to the very bottom half here, it should show you what you want to display. So again, do you want to make a note to your, or message to your customers? Okay. It says right here, we appreciate you. Okay. And I believe we could change that. So if you want to add a personal message, so for right here, bottom section, you want to put satisfaction guaranteed. Okay, come back within 30 days for a store credit. Okay, in 12 font. So you want to put that in message to customer, right? That's up to you. In this case, let's see, customer satisfaction guarantee. Okay, so here, note to the customer. Okay, so what was it? Satisfaction guarantee. Guarantee. All right, come back within 30 days for store credit. Okay, you can even include like a little footer text. So for instance, like if your company has a motto, go ahead and put it like keep on smiling, right? And since it's a photo type of business, so in this case you're gonna say give it your best shot. Okay, and you want it 12 point font centered. Okay, so give us your best shot. Okay, so again, let me fix this one. This one they said you wanted 12-point font, and this one you want it 12-point font as well, but you want it centered. Good. Okay, so if you look carefully, it says right here, down on the pages. Okay. And then the last one section here on the very last tab to the far right is going to be your email that you send to your customers. So oftentimes, many customers would prefer to be having their statements via email versus in the mail, right? It's paperless statements. So that's a common trend right now to save, on trees and whatnot. I know a lot of companies, they have incentives, say, hey, get a free gift card for $10 if you choose paperless statement, right? So, because they're trying to save costs on printing, right? So in this case, this is what the email can do for you. It can show you what the email looks like. Again, you can also send yourself an email if you want to, create your customer account and send that email. But in this case, we can see the email preview just right now, right? That includes the that it came from our company with our company logo really big in the front, and then it's got your customer account balance information on there, and so on and so forth. So again, email. So if you want to add something else to it or rewrite a certain section, you can go ahead and do that right all here. All right. And once you are done, you're going to click done. Okay. And then now you have that custom built form, the Imagine Photography invoice. Okay, and of course, you also have that standard invoice that you had defaulted earlier. That one is the stock that Intuit just built for you just to get yourself started, to get yourself an idea of what an invoice needs to look like. Okay. All right, and that is it for chapter 2. Right now we do chapter 2 review. Okay, any questions so far in regards to chapter 2? Okay, there are things that I did not cover for the sake of class time, but that's okay. As long as you read it, you should be okay. All right, any questions? So let me fast forward to the multiple choice questions here. So, all right, here you go. Review questions. So we're going to do the multiple choice right here. So please select the best answers for each of the following. So number 1, okay, you can create a custom field for
D.
D, both A and C. Yes, right? You can create them for your customers and your vendors. So again, whether it is information that you need about them, yes. Okay. You can't technically do it for a template. Okay. Just because even though that's extra information that you need to have, you can't put that. You can't put that as a template. Okay. All right, good. Number 2, you can customize your QuickBooks Online company settings under.
A.
So in this case, gear icon, account, and settings. Yes, that one. This is a split question, but that's the correct answer, letter A. You would never go to the left navigation bar and go to accounting. Right? This entire time we spent majority of our times looking at that gear icon and going to account settings. Again, left navigation bar, account and settings. There is none existent. Gear icon, preferences. No, there's no preferences under the gear icon. It is the account and settings. Number 3, okay, the chart of accounts contains categories for
C.
B as in boy or D as in dog?
I said C.
C. Oh, good. Absolutely correct, right? C, you are creating those categories, right? The chart of accounts. I've mentioned this many times. There are 5 different types of accounts. Your assets, liabilities, equity, income, and expenses. So therefore, your chart of accounts is going to list out all of those categories. Okay? All right, number 4. Okay? Which of the following is not available as a custom sales form?
C.
Yes, you absolutely cannot create a check, okay? So in this case, if you remember from when I did the custom forms, you only have 3 options anyways, to create an invoice, estimate, or sales receipt. Now, also, here's a dangers of why you shouldn't create your own checks. Yes, it is common practice that, yeah, maybe a company wants to represent itself by having their company logo on their check. Unfortunately, you can't create that on your own. You have to get that through a legitimate bank institute who can customize those things for you, okay? Why? Because oftentimes with a check, you might miss one of the 5 important components that makes a check valid, right? And we talk about this mostly in accounting, but you have to have the name of the person, you have to have your account number, you have to have the actual amount, and you have to have the validation of the signature, right? So in this case, it's very highly possible that you could forget something when creating a custom check. And on top of that, you also have to have it on printable, available on actual treasury paper, right? It can't be just made on a regular piece of paper. So in this case, checks is not an available option. Number 5, which of the following is displayed vertically on the far left side of the screen?
B.
B, the left navigation bar, right? The dashboard is a tab that's on there, right? And of course, the gear icon's at the top. And of course, none of the above is none of the answers. Okay, so in this case, it is going to be your left navigation bar. Okay. Number 6, the types of products and services include so the question is saying types.
A.
Okay, that's what you can use those products and services for or on. So what are the 4 types of products and services that you can create? That's what this question is asking.
D.
D, inventory, non-inventory, service, and bundle, right? Those are the 4, and we took a look at it today in class, how to set those up for the products and services. So again, these are product and service types. So keyword here was types, okay? Not what you can use products and services or what forms you can use them on. Okay? Number 7, okay? To add a new sales tax to the list,
Would it be D?
D, either A or B. Yes, right? You can either automate it, okay, based on your company's address. So again, that was what we did, right? We already put in our company address in there, so it located exactly where we needed to have the tax for. And of course, you can also specify the specific taxes, right, by creating this custom tax form. So in this case, yes, A and B. Okay. Number 8, okay, where can you find custom form styles to manually design the layout of an invoice?
D.
All of the above. Yes, the gear icon, right? You click on the gear icon, it's going to be under your company. Boom. Customs, forms, and styles, right? I showed you the second one where you can go to the account settings under the sales tab, right at the very top of it. You can create it there, and you can click on the customize at the bottom of a sales form. In this case, I didn't show you that, but that definitely is one of the things you can do. Okay. Number 9, okay, which lists creates the payments due dates for sales and expense forms? Okay, remember, due dates.
A.
A, terms, right? Because we said that it could be applied on whether a vendor gives you terms or a customer gives you terms. And what that does is it gives you a period of time to make a payment due date. So in this case, whether it's date driven or a standard term, okay? Number 10, okay? You would like your customers to pay you within 15 days, okay? What lists would you create? Would you be creating this option?
D.
D, terms. Yes, right? We just talked about that in the previous question, right? It sets a date for your customer. So in this case, or customer or vendor, right? So in this case, if you're trying to tell your customer, hey, if I bill you and you need to pay me within a specific amount of days, you need to go to the terms list. Okay. Number 11, okay, what is the benefit of using bundles on a sales form?
D.
It does save you time, that's for sure. Okay, it does help you calculate the quantities on several items at once. That is true, right? If I got one camera, one lens, one um, case, that means I got 3 items in my sales form, right? So yes, it does calculate all of those, and it combines service products and services into one. Yes, right. But you have to have those products and services in your products and services list ahead of time before you can combine your product and or your service. So several products and services. So again, D is the correct answer. All of the above. Number 12, okay? Where should you go to pay your sales tax? Okay, I didn't talk about paying sales tax in this chapter because we don't see it until chapter 4, but where would you go? Where would you go to see that information?
B,
B, the sales tax center. Okay, good. Where do you get this? How do you get to the sales tax center? Do you remember? How do I get to that sales tax center?
would you
Your
be
navigation bar.
The left navigation bar, you click on taxes and it will populate that sales tax. So yes, we talk about this in chapter 4, exactly how to make a payment to your sales tax, right? So you do have to go to the sales tax center. Down below, I did give you a brief show, right, of all the outstanding payments that you never paid. But in this case, we never collected any tax. So again, I have to show you everything before we do everything, okay? I think that also might be in chapter 5, if I'm not mistaken. So, because we're going to have to go through chapter 3 to collect the sales tax in the first place. So, it's probably most likely going to be in chapter 5. Okay. Number 13, okay? You can rearrange the within columns of a sales form using
C,
yes, you're going to be using the design tab, right? In this case, I didn't show you, but when I clicked on the design tab, right, you're also able to, stretch out the page if you need to. Number 14, the payment methods list. So in this case, you had to read this. The payments methods list. What does it do?
D,
All of the above. Let me see. So A contains the forms of payments that you accept from your customers. Yes, 100% true. Contains the forms of payments that you use for vendors. Okay. Should be customized to reflect your business needs. In this case, the correct answer is actually A. Okay. So you create
Okay.
this payment for the purpose of collecting how you collect payments from your customers, right? So you'll see it on the sales form. There is a section where you can do payment method, and it's a drop down menu to see how did the customer pay you. Okay, it's not into aspects of whether we pay or not, but if you use the payments subscription, which is completely separate, that deals with both collecting the customer and dealings with you as a paying with a credit card, and it also gives you your business needs. So in this case, the question is gearing towards the payment methods list, not the QuickBooks payments subscription. Okay, so that I could see how that could have been very confusing. Okay. And then lastly, question of the day is 15. The setting to change the time limit for your browser, okay, before you get logged out is, so remember this was from yesterday's lesson. How do I make that change to keep me logged into my company file for longer?
is that B?
It is under account settings and it's under advanced. Correct. Good. All right. So that concludes today's lessons for chapter 2. So again, Monday